Hello everyone. This is the last video for this chapter. In the last two videos, we discussed about country risk evaluation models. In this video, we will discuss some problems associated with country risk evaluation models, particularly the statistical models. Even though the methodology that we discussed in the previous video, the statistical models has been one of the most common form of country risk evaluation model by financial institutions, it is fraught with problems. So in this video, we discuss a couple of those commonly encountered problems in this country risk evaluation models. First of all, is the measurement of key variables. Very often, the financial institutions manages information on a country's, for example, the debt ratio or import ratio is out of date because of delays in collection of data and errors in measurement. For example, the Bank of International Settlements collects aggregate loan volume data for countries. Frequently, this information is 6 months old or more before it is published. It means that when a financial institution gets this data, it gets the idea about the import position or investment position of a country. However, that is old for 6 months, and in these 6 months, the country's import or investment position might have changed substantially. Moreover, these measurement problems are compounded by forecast errors when managers use these statistical models to predict the probability of rescheduling with future or projected values of key variables such as the import ratio or the debt service ratio. Next one is the population groups. Usually, analysts seek to find variables that distinguish between only two possible outcomes, reschedulers and non-reschedulers. But in actuality, a more finer distinction may be necessary. For example, a distinction between those countries announcing a moratorium on interest payments only. Moratorium means, if you can remember, the delay in payment, the moratorium on interest payment only, and those announcing a moratorium on both interest and principal payments. The commonly used credit risk scoring model cannot differentiate between these two. Then political risk factors. The credit risk model or the country risk evaluation model actually only incorporate economic variables. While there may be a strong correlation between an economic variable such as money supply growth and rescheduling, the model may not capture very well purely political events such as strikes, elections, corruptions, revolutions, etc. For example, the election of a strongly nationalist politician may reduce the probability of repayment and increase the probability of rescheduling. However, the statistical model of country risk evaluation cannot capture this type of factors. Another problem with the model is the country risk evaluation statistical model often identify variables based on rather loose or often non-existent analysis of the borrowers or lenders' incentives to reschedule. So really are the question asks, for example, what are the incentives or net benefits to a country seeking a rescheduling? What are the incentives or net benefits to an financial institutions that grants a rescheduling? So my point is, what I'm trying to say is country risk evaluation models are mostly based on variables. Those explains the probability of rescheduling. However, sometimes there may be some benefits or incentives for the countries to reschedule or not to reschedule. The valuation models do not incorporate those. For example, for borrowers, the benefits for rescheduling is, by rescheduling its debt, the borrower lowers the present value of its future payments in hard currencies to outside lenders. This allows it to increase its consumption of foreign import and or increase the rate of its domestic investment. However, this benefit doesn't come free. It also has costs. For example, by rescheduling now, borrower may choose itself out of the market for loans in the future. As a result, even if the borrower encounters high growth investment opportunities in the future, it may be difficult or impossible to finance them. Rescheduling may also result in significant interference with the borrower's international trade, since it would be difficult to gain access to instruments such as letter of credit, without which the trade may be more costly. So there are not only benefits for the borrowers, there are benefits for the lenders as well. For example, from the lender's point of view, that there are some benefits of rescheduling. Like once a loan has been made, rescheduling is much better than a borrower default. Because you understand, with a rescheduling, the financial institution lender may anticipate some present value loss of principal and interest on the loan, whereas with an outright default, the financial institution stands to lose all its principal and future interest payments. The financial institution also can renegotiate fees and various other collateral and option features into a rescheduled loan. There may be tax benefits to a financial institution taking a recognized write-off or loss in value on a rescheduled loan to a less developed country. However, once again, those benefits come at a cost. Through rescheduling, loans become similar to long-term bonds or even equality, and the financial institutions often becomes locked into a particular loan portfolio structure. Those financial institutions with large amounts of rescheduled loan are subject to greater regulatory attention. For example, such financial institutions may be placed on a APRA's problem list of financial institutions. All these relevant economic incentive the considerations go into the demand for and the supply of rescheduling. However, those are typically not incorporated in the credit scoring model. Another problem is the stability. This is the final problem with simple statistical credit risk models. The fact that certain key variables may have explained rescheduling in the past does not mean that they will perform or predict well in the future. Over time, new variable and incentives affect rescheduling decision, and the relative weights of the key variable changes. However, those changes in the country's position are not incorporated in the model. So due to these problems, the country risk evaluation models that we use should be used with extreme caution. So this is the end of chapter 12. Thank you very much for listening.